Borderlands is in theaters this weekend, and this video is brought to you by AG1. Go to drinkag1.com/Dan for a special offer, and stay tuned after the video for more info. Hello everybody, I'm Dan Murrell here with my thought on Borderlands, which is an adaptation of the video game series that launched back in 2009. Now, I've never played any of the Borderlands games, so I can't lay claim to any of those statements like this movie ruined my childhood or this movie ruined my fandom, but I can say pretty confidently that this movie ruined my life for the hour and 42 minutes that I was watching it. Cate Blanchett inexplicably stars as a bounty hunter named Lilith, who's hired by an industrialist named Atlas, played by Edgar Ramirez, to travel to the conflict-ridden world of Pandora to recover his kidnapped daughter, Tiny Tina, played by Ariana Greenblatt. It's worth noting, strangely, that there are two major releases, It Ends With Us and Borderlands, that come out this weekend that both contain a character named Atlas. I wish this movie was mediocre enough to just make me shrug, but unfortunately my reaction was much stronger than that. Pandora is a nasty place, largely because somewhere on the planet is a hidden vault that holds the secrets of the Iridians, secrets that could give the finder ultimate power to conquer the galaxy. It's also where Lilith was born and where she finds Tiny Tina and ultimately fights her way across the planet with a motley crew, including a soldier named Roland, played by Kevin Hart, a masked strongman known as a Psycho, played by Florian Munteanu, and the brilliant scientist Dr. Tanis, played by Jamie Lee Curtis. Along for the ride also is Lilith's unwilling robot assistant Claptrap, who's voiced by Jack Black. Claptrap is, and I'm not exaggerating here, easily the most annoying character in a movie since Jar Jar Binks. I actually think I prefer Jar Jar Binks by a pretty healthy margin. Anytime there's a moment of silence in the film, Claptrap rolls in his one wheel and breaks out a quip like, "Whoa, mofo, that just happened." Claptrap is so annoying that the character made me hate Jack Black, and I love Jack Black. Even the charisma of the world's most charismatic man cannot save this character. There are a few other cast members, including Gina Gershon as a goth version of Mae West for some reason, but the real co-star is the movie's spectacle as it seeks to bring to life a video game world of infinite possibility. And on that count, I can report that the film is also a major disappointment, with visual effects that sometimes look straight out of the early 2000s, and I'm not talking about the groundbreaking stuff. Borderlands actually does feel like a movie from the early 2000s, predating the release of even the original video game itself. And it's weird that we've had two movies this year, first with Madame Web and now with Borderlands, that remind me of a bygone era of being a movie fan, and specifically a comic book and video game fan. We have been very spoiled, especially in the last 5 to 10 years, by a lot of the comic book movies and especially video game movies that have been coming out. And if you don't remember those days, pre-2000 and going into the early years of the 21st century, and what it was like to go to the movies as a comic book fan or a video game fan, then go watch Madame Web and now watch Borderlands, because it was a nearly constant insult. And that's what this movie feels like. The screenplay for Borderlands is credited to Eli Roth and Joe Crombie, and this is actually Joe Crombie's first feature screenplay because Joe Crombie doesn't exist. Joe Crombie is a pseudonym for a writer who asked to have their name taken off of the project. Most people seem to assume that it was Craig Mazin, who was originally credited as the movie's co-screenwriter. Mazin says that it's not him, it must be a pseudonym for somebody else. Whoever it is, I'm really not surprised that they asked to have their name taken off of this movie. If I had done craft services on this movie, I would have asked for my name to be taken off of it too. The screenplay for the movie is Take Your Name Off It worthy, starting with the opening minutes, and it basically continues like that as the movie lurches from one scene to another. It's like you're seeing brought to life a fever dream from like a drugged up 80s stockbroker just in real time. It's like, okay, man. And then listen, they go to this cavern, man, and there's this green slime that eats your flesh, man. So they get through that, but then there's a bunch of cannibals in there, and they're like, ah, and then they're like, ba, 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 and everything's crazy, and they're running, and they got to get out of there, man, and then there's this elevator, and then it goes up, and it's like, whoa, kaboom, whoa, and then they're going through the sands, and it's like, oh, it's crazy, man. This movie is equal parts exhausting and somehow tedious. Eli Roth also directed most of this movie, and I honestly don't even know what to do with him anymore. Because every time he redeems himself with a movie like Thanksgiving, which I enjoyed, he delivers a truly awful movie like this one. He's made too many good films for me to call him a hack, but at the same time, he's made too many terrible films for me to classify just what exactly his talents are. It's like there are two Eli Roths, and one of them's locked in a basement somewhere, and they just like alternate movies, or like one of the Eli Roths escapes and makes a good movie, and then they go and they throw him back into the basement for like 2 or 3 years. I say that Eli Roth directed most of this movie because after filming wrapped in 2021, yes, you heard me, 2021, they came back early last year for 2 weeks of reshoots that were directed by Tim Miller, who smartly did not take or receive credit for his work in the movie, which means that they shot this movie 3 years ago. They sat in what they shot for 2 years. They came back for more shooting, and they still delivered a movie this bad. The only explanation that I can come up with is that the reshoots were meant to actually make the movie worse. Like, they felt like they had just kind of like a mediocre bad movie, and they're like, you know what? We've got to go for that like conversation starting bad. So they came back and shot 2 more weeks to just make the movie awful. That's the only reason that I can come up with. How else can you sit on a movie for multiple years, come back and shoot more, and still make this? How Borderlands got the cast that it did is beyond my comprehension. I doubt any of them are going to get a career boost from the movie. I literally kept forgetting that Kevin Hart was even in this movie. Do you know how badly you have to fumble Kevin Hart to make me forget that he's in a movie? As for Cate Blanchett, I'm convinced this is some sort of an artistic statement, maybe some commentary on the divine and the obscene, or the duality of man as filtered through her career, or they just, paid her a bunch of money. I mean, listen, Tar was, I'm sure, very creatively fulfilling, but it doesn't do a whole lot for the old tax bracket, if you know what I mean. I guess if there's any good that came from this movie, it's that I enjoy most of the cast members, and this allowed them to get paid money to continue acting. So, I mean, I guess that's a positive thing. Maybe some of the money that they made from this movie went to charity. So, that would be a good thing. I'm just looking for any kind of upside here. Borderlands is the kind of movie that makes me miss, even more so than usual, Roger Ebert. I am genuinely sad that I don't live in a world where I get to read his review of Borderlands. If there is a critic heaven, and I'm lucky enough to go there, I want to sit down next to Roger Ebert on the couch and just listen to his running commentary, because I can promise you it would be amazing. I didn't just dislike this movie, I have a visceral distaste for it, because it seems to have a visceral disdain for the audience. There's no chance that the creatives involved didn't realize that it was terrible, and yet they made it anyway. That says to me that someone involved didn't really care about whether it was good or not, and just wanted to pump out something to exploit a brand name and part the kids with their money. Luckily, this movie's producer, Avi Arad, gets a shot at redemption later this year with his next release, Kraven the Hunter. Yikes. By the way, producer Avi Arad and the studio that made this film, Lionsgate, are also teaming up for a live-action adaptation of Naruto. So Naruto fans, get ready. This probably goes without saying at this point, but Borderlands gets a stay away rating on my personal scale. This is easily one of the worst movies that I've seen this year. I suppose some people might go and have fun, and honestly, I envy those people, because I was most definitely not one of them. So those are my thoughts on Borderlands. What do you think? Are you heading out to see it this weekend? Let me know down in the comments below. And before we go, I'm going to thank my partner for this review, AG1. Running a YouTube channel can get a little chaotic sometimes, so it's good to have a little consistency in what I do. And one great constant is being able to start my day off by doing something good for my body, like kicking things off with AG1. AG1 is a foundational nutrition supplement that delivers daily nutrients and gut health support, and is backed by multiple research studies, so you can trust what you're putting in your body. It is important to monitor things like that, and that's why AG1 is a great option. It is backed by the multiple studies, and unlike other products, AG1 doesn't just test their ingredients individually, they test their entire formula. If you're a coffee or a caffeine fiend like I can be when my energy is low, AG1 is also a great way to get that energy without hooking up a caffeine IV. 97% of people in a research study said they felt more energy after 30 days of drinking AG1. If I had to recommend one product to support whole body health, it's AG1, and that's why I'm excited to have them as a partner on the show. Starting your journey with AG1 is a win. Try AG1 and get a free 1-year supply of vitamin D3K2 and 5 free AG1 travel packs with your first purchase at drinkag1.com/Dan. That's drinkag1.com/Dan. Check it out. Thanks to AG1 for sponsoring this video, and thank you for watching. I'll be back right here with more movie news, reviews, box office, and more. Maybe the next movie I review will be better than Borderlands, because I'm going to tell you, it couldn't be much worse. Until then, stay safe, and I'll see you next time. Bye.